We send over 10 million emails every single month, and when you send that volume, you start to learn things about email deliverability that most people would never figure out, because nobody starts with perfect sender reputation. If you've ever had email open rates that don't make sense, for example, and emails that should be working and copy that's worked for you before, but it's just not quite working, then it's most likely not your copy and it's probably your infrastructure. It's that emails are landing in spam before anybody even gets a chance to read them. And what makes it worse is that most tutorials are teaching you things that used to work in 2022 and 2023, but now as we're approaching 2026, those things no longer work anymore. I mean, Gmail and Microsoft completely changed the rules. And so you have people following these guidelines step by step, doing everything right, and their domains are getting burned faster than if they just did nothing at all. So in this video, I'm gonna break down everything that's actually needed to land in an inbox in 2026. I'm gonna share with you the technical setup, the testing workflow, and new authentication requirements that most tutorials even skip. Because what most people do when they're running their email campaigns is they send a bunch of emails and hope that it lands in the inbox with no data to back it up. And then when they finally make sense that their emails aren't delivering, what they have to do is they have to buy the domains again, buy the inboxes again, and warm everything up, which is just a massive drag in itself, and it takes a long time to get these things set up and started sometimes. They think they need more inboxes and they just try the whole thing again. And the problem is you're completely blind to what's actually working and what's not. You don't have any insider data to even know if this is successful, and you don't know why it's successful, and you don't know why it's not. So let me break this down for you. There's essentially 6 components that can go wrong with your deliverability, and oftentimes most people blame the wrong thing. First, you have your email server. This is where you're sending from, whether it's a Google workspace, the Microsoft Office, or some private server. Some servers have higher trust while others have lower trust. That's why for beginners, I always recommend going Microsoft or Google. There are a lot of people telling you that you can set up unlimited mailboxes from these AWS servers. Those are newer and they don't have that much trust or authority. Second, you have the domain. Where you buy your domain actually matters, believe it or not. A lot of people purchase their domains from something like Namecheap or Cloudflare, and then they wonder why they have deliverability issues. I personally recommend buying all your domains from GoDaddy or Google domains, and if you want to risk it slightly a little bit, you can also go to Porkbun and actually buy your domains. Third, you have DNS records. Those are authentication protocols that prove ownership of that inbox and domain. We're talking about SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. And I know this sounds Chinese, but without these records set up correctly, your email is going to end up in spam regardless of how good your copy is and where you even got the domain from. The fourth thing is you have the mailbox itself, which is the actual address that you're sending from, like name@domain.com. That mailbox is set up on the domain on the server, and you can be blocked at any of those 3 levels. You can be blocked at the mailbox level, you can be blocked at the domain level, and you can be blocked at the server level. Fifth is email copy. A lot of these receiving servers, as in the people that you're sending the messages to, their servers, they are trained to identify spammy copy. Like when they see multiple emails that look exactly the same being sent out to different people, they'll realize. So saying phrases like 100% guaranteed or free money, these are words or phrases that spam filters will identify immediately and fully block that email from being sent. And finally, you have block lists. Your email can end up being on a block list if too many people report your email as spam. These are things like SpamHuzz, Host Karma, and Sorbs. And the main reason why your emails get reported as spam is because people are reporting them as spam. Nothing is going to replace sending a good email for people that are actually a good fit for receiving that email. All right, now that you know all these reasons, let's talk about how we can actually set this up correctly. And I'm gonna go through this step by step just so you can follow along. The most scalable and reliable way to run cold email campaigns that scale is pretty simple. You use multiple domains and multiple inboxes. This is also called inbox rotation. If you rely on one domain, you're putting your entire reputation at risk. And no matter how good your campaigns are, some of your inboxes will just be marked as spam. And when that happens, deliverability drops not just from that inbox that sent out that specific email, but from the whole entire domain where other inboxes can also be included. But with inbox rotation, you actually spread the risk. Let me explain. Let's say your main domain is yourcompany.com. This domain probably has good authority, good SEO, and you probably don't want to mess with it. To protect it, you can run cold email through satellite domains that are very similar to your domain, domain, but not exactly your domain. What I mean by this is, to protect it, you can run cold email through satellite domains, like yourcompany.com or tryyourcompanyname.com. And each domain should have multiple inboxes. I recommend 3 inboxes per domain. If one inbox gets flagged and the domain gets flagged as a whole, then you have others that are repetitive that continue to run regardless. Now, I usually don't recommend anything more than 50 emails per inbox per day. However, those are high authority emails, they're aged emails, they've been warmed up for a while, they've been sending for a while. The safe number and the safe bet is to start at 15 emails per day per inbox and then scale up from there. So you'd go from 15, a week later you'd be at 20 emails sent per inbox, and then you'd be at 25. Then the maximum I would do for something that's not been warmed up for more than 2 weeks is 30. If you really want to be safe, 30 is still the number that I recommend. However, you can send up to 100. Imagine it like running a race. The faster that you run at the beginning, the more fatigued that you'll be sooner. And the same exact thing applies to email marketing. The more that you send up front, the more likely that you are to replace those inboxes a little bit later, and the more tired these inboxes are going to get. And then obviously, as mentioned, you want 2 to 3 inboxes per domain and 3 to 4 per admin console or tracking account. So to figure out what you need, take your daily email target and divide it by 30, and that's your inbox count. Divide that again by 100 and you got your domain count. But always build in some breathing room. Aim for 20% more than your minimum. That extra capacity allows you to pause or swap inboxes if needed without pausing your outreach. Now let me explain SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So these acronyms sound technical, but they're the backbone of email authentication. Without these records, email providers don't have a reason to trust you. You can write the perfect cold email and still end up as spam, because if your domain isn't authenticated, you look like a fake sender even though you might not be. SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. This is essentially a approved list of email senders for your domain. When an email server receives an email, it checks that DNS entry to see if that email arrived from a approved email server. If it doesn't see that email server, we know we have problems. DKIM is Domain Keys Identified Mail. This is a digital signature that's added to every single email. It helps verify the email authenticity and that the email content wasn't modified in transit. When an email is sent, it takes a list of fields and creates a hash for the contents. The email server then signs a hash with a private key that only that email server has. And DMARC is domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. I know it's long. This is an advanced checklist that builds off SPF and DKIM verifications. And most importantly, DMARC actually provides instructions for the receiving email server on what to do if one of those checks fails. You can set it to do nothing, quarantine the email to spam, or reject the email entirely. Good news is these 3 are actually pretty easy to set up. Just Google how to set up domain record plus your domain provider and follow the steps. There's 1,000 videos out there to show you exactly how to do this step by step. But if you want me to make a video on this specifically and walk you through the step-by-step process, then leave a comment below and I can make it happen. Now, let me talk about custom tracking domains. Open rates tell you if your emails are reaching the inbox. See, there really isn't a perfect way to know if your emails are landing in inboxes or not, but open rates tell you if your emails are reaching the inbox or the spam folder. It's one of the first signals to track when launching a cold email campaign. I will say, if you're using a sending platform, tracking open rates can also get a little bit dangerous. The reason why is because it adds HTML to be able to track when emails are open, which could also affect deliverability. The second thing that you can take a look at is, instead of open rates, look at response rates. If your response rates are 0.1 something percent, it's a really small number, then most likely than not, your emails are landing into spam. Most platforms track open rates using a small invisible pixel added to each email. But the problem is, if you're using a shared tracking domain, you're also sharing its reputation, meaning your emails can get flagged if somebody else uses the same pixels for spam. Using public tracking can tank your deliverability. All it takes is a few bad actors using that same pixel and you're in trouble. That's why you should always set up your own custom tracking domain. Okay, so you've got your domains, you've got your inboxes, you've got your DNS records configured, and before you start blasting cold email after cold email, there's something you might want to know if you don't want to end up in spam. Before sending anything, you have to warm up your inbox. If you send too many cold emails from a fresh domain, email providers flag you as suspicious, because when you're unknown and your volume is high, then you look like spam. The result is your emails skip the inbox and land in spam day 1 of launch. launch. But inbox swarming helps you build a solid reputation gradually. Here's how we do it. First off, we start small. 5 emails per day on day 1, and we increase the limit every single day by 5 until we get to 50. So if you're sending 30 emails per day, stick to about a 2-week minimum. And if you're sending 50 emails per day, stick to about 3 weeks to 4 weeks minimum. And this is really important. Once your campaign starts, don't turn warming off. Keep it running. Just dial it down to 10 to 15 warm-up emails per day. Because if you send 50 cold emails a day and you get 0 responses, providers will start to take notice. It's not in a good way. But if warm-up replies come in steadily, from the warm-up protocol, you're maintaining engagement signals. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of tools that do this automatically, and most email platforms have a built-in warm-up feature. You can also use standalone tools like Warm-Up Inbox or Lemwarm. The key is just to obviously make sure that this is running in the background consistently. Now that your infrastructure is set up, let's talk about the actual emails that you're sending. Because great deliverability, starts with technical setup, but copy is what gets you flagged or gets people to actually reply. You can have the best domain, warmed up inboxes, perfect DNS, but if your email sounds spammy, almost like you're selling something, you're done. Certain words pretty much instantly raise red flags for spam filters. If you mention things like guaranteed results or 100% free or act now, you're screwed. You're pretty much cooked. Always review your subject lines and your email content to avoid these common triggers. If you want an easy way to see if your emails are landing into spam, you can use a tool like SendGuard, which you can connect your email to, and it'll actually tell you if the campaign or the words that you're using is spammy. Instantly has also an AI built-in feature that can do that for you on the campaign level. Next are images and links. Cold emails work best when it looks like something you'd send to a colleague or a friend or a text on a phone, for example. Simple, plain text, straight to the point, not salesy. Images often get blocked by email clients anyways, and links are red flags for spam filters. And either you're more likely to get flagged or blocked before your email is even seen. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about unsubscribe links? Some places like Europe or California require an opt-out option in cold emails, but unsubscribe links come with a trade-off. They're links. So they're just bad for deliverability. They look automated and they tell filters you're running a bulk sequence. Instead, try using a line like, if this isn't relevant, let me know at the very end of your email. Or, hey, if you don't want me to reach out again, just let me know and I'll remove you from my list. It lets people opt out without clicking a link and keeps your email looking personal. Another big thing to use is AI to make every single email look different. This can also be called spin tax, where essentially you're sending the same email every single time. However, each new email that sends has a different variation or verbiage that's a synonym. So for example, you can say hi, email 1, first name. Email 2, you can say hello, first name. Email 3, you can say how are you, first name. And this is called spin tax. This is a feature that allows you to send different emails every single time. And I say this because the easiest way to land into spam is to send the same 2021 templated cold email over and over again. Email providers are built to detect patterns and they don't like seeing the same exact message sent over and over again. If your messages all look the same, you're going to get flagged, and this is a mistake that a lot of people make, even if your offer is solid and your setup is perfect. Is you want to use AI to rewrite each message with slightly different variations, different intros, phrasing, sentence structures. These things all work. And make sure every single email has a specific line that makes it look like it's written for that person. At scale, this would take hours by hand, but if you're using AI, it takes seconds. But make sure you're the brain behind the emails. AI is there to help you, not write the whole thing for you. Because if you send an email that looks like this, chances are even you wouldn't open it. Now let's talk about testing. This is probably the most important part of this entire video, because anyone can set anything up, but if you don't know how to test and interpret the results, you're flying blind. Here's a process that we've seen working for my portfolio companies. Step 1, stop your campaigns. If your emails are landing in spam, that means something is wrong. And if you keep sending emails while this issue is not fixed, you're going to make it worse. If you're only in spam for 1 day, it's going to be much easier to fix than being in spam for 3 months. So first step is just to stop and pause everything. Step 2, test everything. This is the part where you have to figure out what's actually wrong. And there's a couple of tools you can use for this. First, check your warm-up health scores. Most email platforms show you a health score for each inbox. You want these at 100 or close to it. Anything below 97 usually means you should pause for a little bit. If any are below 90, you've got a problem. Second, test your email domain setup. Make sure that all of your emails have MX records. SPF, DKIM, DMARC is set up correctly. And third, test your copy. Go to a website like mailtester.com, paste your copy in there, and see if you're getting a good score. You want an overall score of at least 8 out of 10. And if you have words that are being flagged, change those words, obviously. Fourth, and this is the most powerful tool, use a tool like Glock Apps. Let's say you send a test email to a seed list that includes Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, and a bunch of other providers. Then you can see exactly which providers are putting you into spam and which providers are not. What's most important is that you might pass all the other tests, but still see that Outlook is blocking you specifically. This is why you need to do multiple tests. A lot of different things can go wrong, and there's a lot of different tools that you can check against one another to get to the bottom of it. And once you've done that, you can move on to step 3, fix and warm up again. What most people don't realize is that no matter what's causing your emails to go into spam, the solution is almost always the same. Stop your campaigns, run the test, fix the issues, warm up your inboxes for 2 weeks minimum, then run the test again. And you're not going to start running outreach from that mailbox again until that inbox has perfect deliverability. So that's everything that you need to land in an inbox in 2026. But the thing is, deliverability is actually 30% of what makes a cold email campaign work. The rest is all about strategy, messaging, and the systems behind it. So if you're a B2B founder doing $30,000 to $250,000 per month and your pipeline is a little bit inconsistent and you're tired of figuring this out yourself or paying agencies that don't deliver, my company Grow Big Ventures runs a performance-based model where we only profit when you close deals. We build the whole entire infrastructure for you, the one that I just spoke about, at cost. The domains, the inboxes, the warm-up, the data validation, everything pretty much, so you can just reply to those leads and close the deal. If you're interested in something like that, I'm going to leave a link down in the description so you can apply and see if we'd be a good fit to work together. Other than that, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel just so you don't miss any future videos just like this one, and I'll see you on the next one.